Again, as we get building, if you got lost or you want to start from a clean slate, we're going to start at L4 or lesson 4. What we're going to look at here is we're going to start with organizing your data. So again, if you want to start at L4, we want to take this data, we kind of have a nice base or a nice starting point. How can we actually turn this more into a report from what our users are looking at? So what we want to do in a typical what I would recommend is a good layout for a report is to define kind of a header section, then the detail section of the report. So what I want to do is give myself some room up here at the top. So I'm going to take my visual, I'm just going to focus on it, and I'm going to resize it by shrinking it down here and give myself some room at the top. Now, in a Power BI report, we want to have, or any good report, we want to have a title on the report. I always like to put this in the top left-hand corner. To put this title on the report, this is just a Microsoft text box. And so I'm going to come over here. Of course, it's going to be the last one I do, or it's the third icon in on that menu bar. If you hover, it's going to call it a text box. And it's just, we're just going to type that in here. I'm going to call this my GL analysis report. And as I type, it gives me this default font. To change the font, this is just a Microsoft text box, guys. You guys are used to doing these in PowerPoint presentations and just about anything in Microsoft. So works the same way. Highlight your font, highlight what you've typed. I'm going to come down here on the font, and I like to go to the Seago Bold. And I typically go to about a size 18 on my titles. But it's up to you what you want that to do. Or you could go, I'm gonna go, let's go with a 15. If you don't see the size you want listed there, you can just type it. Oops, not that way. No, I can't type it. So I'm gonna go with 16. I guess if I'm following along with our sample report, it's Seago Light is what they gave me on the sample report. So let's follow that. I like Seago Bold. I like them to be out there. And I'm going to go with a 16 on my font size there. And then you can hit the bold, and that makes it just a little darker. So pick your font. Most of you probably will have some sort of company standards or marketing, some style guide through your marketing department that you're going to follow with this. But there's ours for the class. Then I want to move my slicers. I like to have the slicers at the top of the page. So I'm just going to take these slicers and kind of realign them up here and resize those slicers. So as I kind of shrink it up, you'll notice that that title went away. Just depends on how much space you have out there for the slicer, how much room you give it. So these were smart slicers. They're going to resize based on how much room you give it. But I'm going to go ahead and just move these all up here. So I have my time-based slicer, I have my years, and then I'm going to have my periods. My goal when I'm doing these slicers is I don't want the users to have to scroll to see any of the values. So I will try to make these small enough so that I can get, especially that period, all on one line. So I see all 12 periods. I don't want the users to have to scroll. So we now have a title and we have our 3 slicers. And you can resize those so they look about the same. And then I'm going to put my table kind of up here in the top right corner. Now, I don't need in here for this to have the month to date, quarter to date, year to date. We just know we're going to use the selected measure. So what I want to do is go to my visualizations pane, and I want to get rid of everything except for this revenue actual amount selected. So to get rid of these other items, again, we're just going to go to the visualizations pane, and in the columns field well, just remove those fields by clicking on the X. So I'm now back to that simple table with 1 dimension field, 1 measure field, but it's starting to take on a little bit more of a report look. Now, if we're really building this out for Power BI and we want to do some analysis, we're going to compare the selected amount to something. So let's add a couple other measures in here that would actually be more relevant. Okay, so we're going to go back over in our data pane under the GL balances detail. And in the subfolder account measures under revenue. We're going to add a couple other items. So we have the revenue actual amount selected. Anytime I look at an amount, I want to compare that to where I was the prior year. So I'm just going to choose the value right below it that is the revenue amount selected PY. And now I'm comparing this year to last year. Now, if I see my two numbers, you're accountants. So what's going through your head right now? You've probably already did the math, which is the variance. So if I come down here, I can actually find that revenue variance amount actual. And I want to go to PY selected, revenue variance amount actual, PY selected. And that shows me the variance. And the one right below it, because you're accountants, we're going to go ahead and give you the percent just for fun. So now I've got the variance and the percent on that. Now, if I feel like that the business unit and the description is too much, it's too much detail, we could switch that out so that I maybe just had the business unit or I just had the description. Okay, so you know, again, you're kind of gauging how much room this is taking up on each one of these.